Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast. This is season number 3, episode number 21. My name is Keith, and I'm here with my good friend Doug. Doug, how is this week in heat treating you, man? We're in the summer now, finally.
Good. You know, the heat is a little excessive and annoying, but we always go through, I'm tired of winter, let's go to summer. Now I'm tired of summer, let's go to winter. So
It
just
flips
part
quick.
of the process.
It flips quick. Actually, it's so funny you say that. I was just thinking that yesterday. I was like, man, we're finally just now getting into that 90 degree, 100 degree weather because it's been pretty mild for us. Usually it's hot before this, but I'm already kind of like, kind of look forward to fall. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I switch very, very easily there. So, but anyway, we've got an awesome episode for you. Very short nerd news to share, and but we do have some really cool stuff, developments that we've been working on in the D&D space, and it's stuff that we just want to share with you. As you know, this podcast, we cover everything in way of comic books, Dungeons and Dragons, video games. We seem to, we obviously do a lot of, but just anything that's in that geek culture. And so this was an area that we've kind of picked up this year and made a lot of progress, and we wanted to share. And so we've got a lot of cool stuff on that. And then, of course, we're excited about an upcoming episode, but we won't talk about that till the end of this podcast. So in the meantime, you ready to cue up the nerd news?
Yeah, let's get it done.
Nerd News.
I need more coffee.
Before I start talking about the wrong article.
Yep. I'm gonna try to do you right, man. Let's see here, because I'm half asleep myself.
Right. Now, I picked this one out because I know your wife and my wife, for that matter, are big fans of Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that Netflix is actually going to start making a Little House on the Prairie reboot, and they have one of their main characters picked out.
Oh wow, I heard about this, and I don't know. It was funny. I told my wife about it. She kind of had mixed feelings because it's that whole, if something's
It was done so well first.
Yeah.
Why are we redoing it? Yeah,
I agree. So I get the feeling of a fan. Now, a lot of people, I don't know if you know this, and like when you've read these books, I remember I started to read the books to my first daughter, my oldest one. I'm ancient now, dude. She's like, she's old too. I always tease her that, but no, she's like 24 now. But I started reading the books are brutal compared to the TV show.
Oh yeah.
And so they, talk about starvation, and it goes into detail about how they slaughter the hogs and like the really bad things that happen to the family. I mean, it's rough. And I stopped reading the books because she was pretty young at the time. I was like, I thought these were going to be a little bit more.
Yeah.
So do you think the show is going to be more hardcore like that?
I think, you look at us as a society, we have evolved and changed. I think we can handle a little bit more, not necessarily violence, but a little more like homesteading and a little more of that.
That's true.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense.
So I believe it will show kind of the harsher side of living out on the plain or the prairie or whatever you want to call it.
One would argue what makes this show really good, though, is it's more, well, I can't say. I was ignorant in the fact that I didn't really watch Little House growing up. I've seen a butt ton of them now since my wife rewatched all of them. And I'm actually pretty shocked at, I thought that they were very vanilla, meaning, everybody's always happy all the time. No, that show dealt with some pretty heavy stuff, even the original show, like plagues and deaths and some pretty harsh stuff, sickness and all that. So I don't know. It does make me wonder with all these reboots and all these sequels, because these companies are wanting to go after a for sure thing. Kind of reminds me of game companies. They're looking for sure bets. Something that's made money before should make money again, is their theory. Doesn't it make you wonder about like what other movies are they? I mean, there's already so many in the works, but like, remember like the Lost Boys from the 80s, the vampire one?
My wife hates that movie.
See, what's funny? My wife loves that movie.
My wife hates 80s movies.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah, the cliche hair and the music and the.
Oh my God! She didn't grow up in the 80s as well. That's probably what it is. I love the 80s. Does she hate 80s music?
Most of it, unless it's like rock or something. Yeah.
Really? Oh wow! I wonder all kinds of fun stuff here. Well, she's missing out on an awesome decade. Did she? What about Stranger Things? I know your wife isn't big into fantasy and sci-fi. I don't mean to make your wife the subject of the podcast today. I'm just curious.
she anything fantasy sci-fi, she won't even try it.
Got it. So she didn't. She wasn't a Stranger Things
Nope,
fan.
no Lord of
Okay.
the Rings,
Okay.
no. Yeah, she loves
Okay.
Harry Potter. Well, not loves. She likes Harry Potter. Yeah.
Really? Okay, that's cool. Well, I didn't know because Stranger Things has got
Oh, it's a
the,
great show. Yeah, but
but
I
it's
think the
set in the
monsters
80s.
and stuff, she's kind of like, whatever.
Okay. Well, she may get on board with this with Little
Yeah,
House then.
I think so. Yeah, she
this is
just
something you can
finished
probably
reading
watch
all the
with her.
books again.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Well, then
Yep.
this will probably be right up her alley because it may be more faithful to them. So,
Oh yeah.
all right. See you guys here. This is the Wire Nerdy Podcast. We talk about everything. We'll talk about Little
Yeah,
House on the Prairie,
everything.
man. We don't care. We'll talk about Highway to Heaven. We'll talk about I don't know, the A-Team. Dude, it's too early in the morning. I'm trying to name old shows that may get remade.
I know them all, but now I'm thinking like, what's an '80s show?
Did you ever watch the A-Team
I did
with
the
Mr.
original.
T?
Well,
Oh
I
my God.
watched the repeats, I'm sure, but
Oh, dude, they're so great. Like
they are great.
so cheesy and wonderful. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here.
Now you got to help me here. The one I really, really liked was the dang it, it's on tip of my tongue. The time traveling
Quantum Leap.
Thank you.
Oh my God, that's such a great show too.
I love the little thing that he has. The little
wait a minute
calculator thing.
Yeah, that was his. There's his link to the computer. But do you remember? You and I talked about this. I think was it in season 1? They were trying to reboot it.
Yes,
I swear it was season 1 of our podcast.
Well, they did reboot it, but I don't.
And it didn't.
Did very good.
It tanked. It tanked. Sorry, buddy. I'm drinking coffee just so Doug doesn't have to carry the show. So my apologies.
No.
So yeah,
I almost said the wrong date. I almost said the first episode came out in 1956. But that is the.
Wow.
That's the title. Okay.
Technically, you could argue.
Technically, it did. So the first one of the original series, 1989. So right at the borderline of a 90s show there.
Dude, that was such a great show. There it is. And they did a reboot.
There it is right there. Yep.
There it is. 20.
Rotten Tomatoes, 58%. I trust Rotten Tomatoes. So.
Dude, so it was 20. Dude, this is spot on, man. We started the podcast right about this time. See, it says 2020. Yeah. That was the year we started our first season.
Our first episode, yeah.
So yeah, and we talked about it. And yeah. I don't know. It didn't do well. And obviously they didn't keep it around. I never watched it, so I don't want to knock it. Maybe it isn't bad. I'm sure it's on Peacock.
So we're going down a rabbit hole, but
yeah, we are.
Sorry, everybody. It says early edition. I loved that show.
Early edition?
Where's that? The guy would always get a paper for the next day on his doorstep. Do you remember?
Really?
That?
No.
Go back one and see if it suggests it for you.
Was that an 80s show?
Right there. Early edition. You got the same one as me.
Oh, no. It's late 90s.
Not an 80s show, but it's I really liked it. Kyle Chandler.
96 to 2000. It was on for a while.
But the concept is this guy would get a paper. He didn't know how he got it. They may have revealed it. I can't remember, but
sure.
He would help people in burning buildings and stuff on the next day.
They can modernize it now. He gets early tweets. I about said twits.
You know,
dude, we're so
with
asleep.
A great idea for a show. We need to look at shows of the 80s and 90s that we love.
Dude, let's do that.
I'm throwing that out there.
Throw it out there. We'll put it on the list. All right. Sorry about the rabbit hole, everybody.
Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole later.
That's what you get when you get early morning wired nerdy.
Morning recording.
All right, here we go. Next one. All right.
I thought this was really good. Russell Crowe has signed up to join with Henry Cavill in a Highlander reboot.
Yep.
The first Highlander, like we just talked about, the Little House on the Prairie, was pretty good. So you almost wonder, like you said, they're being safe. They're doing something that's already been done.
They're doing it.
But just hope they don't ruin it. That's what I'm going to say.
I knew this was in development. I did not know about Russell Crowe. Dude, I'm so Russell Crowe. Not
it's
Crowe.
Early in the morning.
It is so sorry. I'm gonna keep apologizing until I know everybody. I didn't know about Russell Crowe. And so I loved the OG Highlander series. I will say this.
Yep.
I am more of a Highlander TV show guy than I was movies. Now, I love the movies. They're classic, but they do have that 80s camp to them, and I like them. I appreciate them. It had the Queen soundtrack. If you know the band Queen was in it, there's all these like elements to it that's really kind of cool. But I really got into the TV show, and it wasn't like the main character was like the family is based on the Scottish dude, last name of McLeod, and I think the TV was Duncan McLeod, which was a spinoff. He had a long hair, ponytail. It was basically the same formula for the same show over and over. But I loved the show, and my son actually has the iconic Highlander sword. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the sword though.
I don't know the name of the sword, but it has the
Yes, it is very good.
ivory. Here we go. We're gonna go to this. See, guys, we're going all over the place. Here we go. It has the ivory like dragon head hilt for the
Yes.
handle, and my son has that. And what's funny though is every time I see this sword, I think of Step Brothers. Do you remember the scene of Step Brothers where they're becoming friends and they're like
Yes.
showing each other cool stuff? And it's right before he says, "Do you want to go to the garage and do karate?" He said, "Well, I was at the mall and I saw Randy Jackson of the one of the judges on American Idol, and he's like, what'd you have him sign?" He's like, "My Highlander sword." I don't know. We're going in deep. Sorry, everybody.
It's a good one.
So yeah, this is either going to be awesome or it's going to suck.
Yeah,
That's how I feel about like any of these things that are held in decent regard, and they're doing all these sequels. I really worry about the money grab situation, right?
Yeah.
So
just hope it does it justice, because the cast of the
Like
first
an homage.
one was amazing.
Yes, like an homage, make it good, and usually they will. I will say, I see Russell Crowe. I'm only going to bring this up. We watched Gladiator 2. Ugh. Did you see it? The second part?
I thought it was good, but not as good as the first one. Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Not a fan. Yeah,
No, it was long and kind of boring, and stuff didn't make sense to me. Like there were so many plot holes. Like, you know, when he's in, no spoiler by the way, because he's basically kind of jailed up the whole movie, so it's not a spoiler. But like how the lady could come visit him whenever she wanted, but yet she was supposed to be in trouble. And I'm like, okay, they're just gonna let her roam around. Like, I don't know. It's just little.
You're right.
It's little like plot holes like that. I was like, I don't know. I could suspend belief for the other crazy. A lot of people are mad because of the stuff they did with like flooding the arena and stuff like that. But I could let that go. But anyway, all right, on to the next. Speaking of the 80s.
Yeah, I'm going down a rabbit hole for shows today.
No, hit it. It's a theme.
Netflix, Netflix, they've got some highs and lows. They've been doing very well lately. They're going to make Dragon's Lair into a movie. So if you don't know Dragon's Lair, we've talked about it before. It is a kind of a FMV, so full motion video game, meaning you're kind of watching a video and then you have a sequence that you have to push a button. From my memory, and you tell me if I'm wrong, it is very, very hard because you don't know what button to press, you don't know when to press it, and you die a lot. So the game was very challenging, but the art style, that's what drew me to it. So let me get this right. Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, and then there was another one. All had kind of the same artistic style, and it looked beautiful. So if they keep the same artistic cartoon style for the show, I think it'll be great.
Well, and that's what was cool about it was the graphics. I'm using that air quote, made it stand out in the arcades specifically, and also it did come to some home PCs, specifically the Amiga. Commodore Amiga was able to handle it, and it was hand drawn, looked like a Disney cartoon, and that just was amazing for the time. Now, I'm sure my brother will be yelling at me if I get this wrong, but I'm going to try. Ryan, it's in the morning. I may get it wrong. I'm pretty sure that the upright cabinets for the arcades were laser. Some of models were laser disc.
Yeah.
So when you were making decisions in the game, like moving left, right, hitting a button at the exact time, it would change scenes depending on what you did, and it was driven by laser. It was pretty progressive. At least some of the cabinets were. I don't know if all of them were driven by Laserdisc. Maybe most of them were. I'm sure he'll text us and correct us once he sees this. but
absolutely.
But it was all hand drawn. It was very unique. It's a very, very hard game. I always liked looking at them. I thought it was a pretty game, but I've never been really a fan of playing them. Actually, when we were at Witches and Wizards, the arcade, not too long ago, I tried to play it again, and I couldn't get past the first thing. It was so. And there's little hints, like something will flash on a screen or something to kind of give you a slight hint. But you got to have you got to be on it or have already memorized it in order to hit it just right. So whether they should make it a show, I don't know, bro. Again, I feel the same way about this I do Highlander. Like, why? Do something original. But I get it. They don't want to take a risk. They're trying to save money, whatever. So it'll either be awesome or it'll suck. I'm gonna just keep saying that for all these remakes.
Yeah, I think the one thing that drug me to loving Dragon's Lair and Space Ace was the artist Don Bluth. So, reading the article, I didn't know this, but he also made The Secret of Nim, American Tail, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and a bunch of others. 80s stuff. He did an awesome job. Anastasia, yep, thanks.
Dude, look
Thumbelina.
at all those.
I mean, that is my
Thumbelina?
entire childhood right there.
Titan AE. He did that too.
AE is one of my most favorite movies. I have actually, I have
So-
it digitally.
I knew the artist tied this has some chops. I had no clue. It makes total sense now. I
You
remember
look
like
at
in
the noses, you look at the faces, and
Yeah,
it's kind of
the
art
style, like
yeah,
Secret of Nim. Dude, that movie was kind of brutal.
it was, yeah.
I remember they would show that in school. They would never do that nowadays. People would be upset.
There's a rabbit
Timmy
movie
gets scared.
that was pretty violent too. If you
A rabbit movie?
an 80s rabbit movie, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, you have to look that one up. I do definitely remember Secret of Nim. That thing was pretty brutal. I had no clue that Don Bluth, though. What's interesting to me is like I get it. They have filmography. They have that listed here. I would think that Dragon's Lair, Space Ace are big enough to where they would be listed under his filmography. They should be because dang, they are just as impressive. Everybody. My suggestion: if you don't want to play it, if you do want to play it, you can get a ROM and play it. But otherwise, just go to YouTube and type in Dragon's Lair playthrough or Space Ace playthrough, and you can just watch somebody who knows how to play the game go through it, and it's pretty good.
It is good. Watership Down. It was a British show or British movie,
I've
but I remember it kind
heard
of
of
being
it.
brutal with rabbits dying and stuff.
Look, the art style looks like that, man. Like I could
Yeah.
see what it almost looks just like. Oh yeah, look at that! Look at that raging
That
rabbit
picture right there. Yeah.
Right. Say no more, Doug.
And
Say
the
no
British are a little different anyway, compared to American cinema.
more. It's funny though. The artwork is very similar.
It is very similar.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. They'll definitely they'll remake this someday.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. People's sensibilities aren't quite the same. So maybe not. All right. I think that does it for the nerd news.
Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about. So our main topic is Dungeons and Dragons. Earlier this year, we showcased this awesome piece that I had commissioned my brother to make, and it was a D&D table. I'll make sure that I tag that if you want to go back and watch that video. We had our first attempt at getting to actually use it. So we just wanted to do something simple. We didn't want to do like a full-blown campaign. So I had friends over at my house, and we wanted to just do what's called a one-shot. If you're unfamiliar, a one-shot is just a very quick mission, and it can be played in a couple of hours, and it's not like a massive campaign. We thought that would be way more consumable for us just getting started out. Me as a newbie DM, just getting back into it, and then also running the table, and we all have very busy lives. So we wanted to first share our experience related to that. And then we're going to talk about the other little stuff, hobby stuff that I've kind of gone into the rabbit hole. So if you also remember, we had a prior episode where we talked about these little minifigures. The whole goal of us playing D&D was from when we attended RonCon, which is episode number 1 of this season. That's what got us back into D&D. Ron inspired us. He is an artist. He's big into D&D. We got to play, and it just, Doug and I realized, wow, this is fun. Now, Doug's gone whole hog, and he's like in 50 games now between work and everywhere else. So he's got a lot of friends. He's got more friends than I do.
Whoa. I don't know.
It's true. But these minifigs, the ones that you see with the clear base, those are like D&D branded ones that I bought at Valhalla's Gate, which is also an episode where we went to this year. You can recognize the theme. The ones with the dark bases, these are what I commissioned an artist to paint for me with acrylic paints, and you can see that episode a few back. They did an awesome job. Cass Wilkins was the person's name, and you can find out about them if you go back, and I'll also make sure I link that. So I set these out on a platter because we wanted to mix. We want to do like a little bit of like old school, like what Ron did, but also new school with technology because, well, we're wired nerdy. And so the idea was to use these minifigs, but instead of having actual physical buildings and stuff like Ron did when we were at RonCon, we were going to use the D&D table. So everybody could pick one of these characters, and then we would launch into the game. that's kind of the setup to everything. I had planned the one shot. Doug, what am I forgetting on the setup on this?
Um, I think we started with, hey, we're telling our friends we're going to start D&D, but we're going to do this one shot as a learning lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of explain the mix of technology versus paper, I think technology is helping our guys, and even me. I'm still learning. I'm in a couple games, but I'm still learning. The technology helps us learn what roles to do and what
Yeah,
things to do. And
it makes it more approachable.
it does. It makes it easier. I've always been a visual, like hands-on learner,
Mm-hmm.
and I think reading the book, that's kind of the old school way. That's not my learning style, and people have different
Yeah,
learning styles. So the digital D&D Beyond app has helped me tremendously learn how to do stuff in a
same.
game. Hopefully that explains it.
No, that actually is helps. What always kind of kept me away from it a little bit was I was always intimidated by the math, and I know that sounds stupid, but I'm not a fan of having to tally numbers, and then like unless I have a calculator with me, I just did not really find it appealing. But he's right. If you're using D&D Beyond, it rolls for you. Now,
Yeah,
it's no big deal if you're just rolling one dice. Duh, you know the number. I can count.
it's fine. Yeah.
It's when you have to do like Doug's gotten into magic systems. You have to roll multiple dice, and then you have modifiers that you have to add on top
Hmm.
of that. It does that for you. Now, we decided to play to where you could roll digitally, or you could roll old school dice. We wanted to let the players be comfortable in what they wanted, and it was nice to see like our friends. They actually switched it up and went back and forth between the two. Especially when you get like, what do you call it, dice jail, bad rolls.
Yeah. So I've learned that if you have a bad dice, you put it in dice jail. This being if you have multiple sets of dice. So one of our friends, Matt, I'll go ahead and call him out. I think he rolled a one, he
Oh,
rolled a two, three. I'm like, bro, you got to put that thing in dice jail.
the night was mixed with either you guys were either rolling extremely bad or extremely good. You were hitting nat ones or nat 20s, natural
Oh
ones
yeah,
or natural
yeah.
20s, which that's an immediate fail or win, everybody, if you don't know, on a 20-sided dice. So they weren't hitting in the middle hardly at
No.
all.
Well,
So
and I think the thing you got to worry about the DM. If you throw a one, the DM could do something just like, nope, you
you break
hit
your
yourself
legs.
in the face with a tomahawk or
Yeah,
something.
take damage.
Yeah,
You're dead.
yeah,
All right. So here's a table. Thankfully, Doug took pictures because I was busy DMing. So let's kind of talk about the setup. It took me a little bit to figure out how I wanted to do this. I found a really cool, and there's so many options on this. And honestly, part of my issue is it's a bit overwhelming. Um, I made this map, and this is a modified one shot that Doug had sent me a bunch of one shots, and I took one of them and I made it my own. I made my own story with it, and which kind of scratched the itch of me. I love being, making
no, it was a
fiction.
great story.
I love writing, so it's
Yeah.
fun. But I use a software called Dungeon Alchemist. It's on Steam, not very expensive. It's so cool. You just draw, like I would choose tavern, and you just draw how many squares you want, and it populates it with AI. It's so
Yeah.
cool. And so this here is the very beginning of us getting started. I'm reading the prologue. They start off in a tavern, of course, and you can see their minifigs. And on the minifigs, we put felt on the bottom of them because Brian had put a layer of plexiglass there, and we don't want to, scratch that up too much. And so they're in their starting positions before the main characters. Now, I didn't have figures for the main characters. They're tokens, and we use D&D Beyond to cast onto the display. And I have a secondary display where I'm running the DM stuff. So the circles you see on the screen, those are actual NPCs, non-player characters, while you then see the guys actually with theirs. Now, in the future, we'll talk about the next thing we're going to get to here in a little bit. As I build more minifigs or get more of them, we might swap out some of them tokens, or I'll just put a character on top of the token's face or something just to make it a little bit more interactive. So
Yeah.
what was your first impression of this when we got into the bar area here on this, and like what were you thinking? How'd you feel about it? I had music playing. Remember, this thing has
Yeah.
speakers on it. We had Lord of the Rings and Skyrim. I was trying to make it as atmospheric as possible, even though the sun was going down, and it was still kind of bright in the living room or in the
Yeah.
dining room we were playing in.
I thought the whole setup was great. I thought the music was a really good addition. It kind of hyped you up. I think you had it cued just right. Some of them threw me off, like you had the Duel of the Fates.
I know,
And
because
I
it was.
thought, oh, what's going to happen? Because you're
I
cueing the
know.
song. I'm thinking, oh, we're about to get in a fight here.
Yeah, what happened
Uh,
on? Yeah, it did. I need to get better at that. Like, I didn't make a set playlist is what I
No,
should have done.
it's
It was
timed
a
perfectly.
well,
Yeah.
it was a station. And so what happens is the algorithm kicks in, and I think it was like, oh, I'm going to play movie soundtracks, or because Halo came on at one point, right? Or video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
But you are right, because the Duel of the Fates came on right at the point when they were about to enter their battle. So it did actually work out pretty well.
As far as the board, I thought it was great. Now, we've talked, and this is not a dig on you at all, but I think the board was too high. I would much rather have us looking down on it,
Yeah,
because it was hard for us to kind of peer over it. That's my
I agree.
only issue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it worked great. I think the map you designed is perfect. You said something about we can animate it later. I think
Oh,
that'd
yeah.
be even better, more immersive.
Yeah, I'm working on that. And
And
actually,
I, sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Oh, I like the idea of the our minifigs on there, but I also like the idea of maybe our faces with some health bars. But then
Yes.
that's too
Yeah.
much, because then you're like, you know how much before you die. I want it to
Yeah.
kind of be a mystery, and you have to research it.
Well, and that was one of
I'm
the
kind of on both sides of the fence.
no. And that was one of the things I went wrong as a new DM, is that when you read it, when I went back and was reading the DM manual, it traditionally, you do not, at least for NPCs, you obviously know what your health is on your character sheet. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
tracking that. I was obsessed, like a video game. You see skeletons here on this image. I was obsessed with like putting their health on there. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
And I didn't
And
know
I
that.
wouldn't want that either.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. But for you guys' health, I could kind of see that. But that's a
Yeah.
D&D Beyond kind of limitation. Your note about the table is legit, in that, remember, I knew that was going to be a risk because I wanted it to be portable. In order for it to be
Yeah.
portable,
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, maybe could have gone thinner, design, whatever, but there's a PC in it too. So I think you're right. It is risen above now. I've seen a lot of videos. A lot of people are building these inside of tables, but that's
Yeah.
in a room that's dedicated to D&D, where I wanted to be able to grab the handles, take it to one of you guys' house.
Oh, I still
And
like
yeah,
it. I think
yeah,
maybe a lower table would be fine. Otherwise, it's good, because then you get involved. Then you're like with your entire party peering up over into this table. It's awesome. It makes it so immersive. It's like, okay, guys, let's lean over, let's look
yeah.
at this, and let's think, what are we going to do now?
I actually found it nice. I started to stand when you guys were really getting into your counter. I actually
Oh,
started
yeah.
to stand,
Yeah.
and then, I don't know. It helped me.
We had a tense moment of
You had a few tense moments.
TPK. So TPK, for those who don't know, is total party kill. I thought we were all gonna die, but I think you, as the DM, said, "No, I can't let you go out on your first one there."
No, you guys actually, I did not do you any favors, so I knew it was going to
Oh,
be
okay,
tough.
then.
We'll talk about what we did here in a moment.
Okay.
I do want to make a note. So this version of this map, what I loved about the Dungeon Alchemist, by the way, they're not sponsors. I just really like the software. The output was a static image, but if I were to launch Dungeon Alchemist, it actually, all of this is animated. So all of the lanterns were flickering, torches were flickering. If you click on a door, it actually swings open and makes a noise, like a creaking sound. So you can output that, but you have to output it to a virtual tabletop that can handle it. D&D Beyond isn't there yet. It's still in beta, and it doesn't handle video files. Now, I'm doing research. There's something called, it's a plugin in Chrome that's called VTT Beyond, which is Virtual Tabletop Beyond, or Control, or something like that. But it lays on top of D&D Beyond and lets you use video files. I haven't played with it yet. I didn't have time. Otherwise, there's other virtual tabletop programs. You're using Digital Foundry for your
Yep.
other game?
So we're using Foundry, right?
Foundry. I think it's Foundry.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that can do video, but it also has line of sight.
Yep. Everything we've played on so far is static. So, and I know I've talked about that before, but to go back to that, we are doing second edition, which came out in the late
Different rules.
80s.
Yeah.
And it is good because we've added that digital aspect with second edition. And oh my gosh, the math on it. So the 5e edition, if I'm saying this right, high rolls are good. The second edition, low rolls are good.
That's
But
weird.
high rolls are also good. It's very confusing.
Dude.
So
Yeah, I
I
can't do
love
that.
that we are doing a digital of that, because, like I said, I don't want to read a second edition book.
Yeah.
And if you look on eBay, second edition books are 150, $200, because it's now a collector's
Yeah.
piece. They're not producing it.
I would get
So I
confused.
can't go out there and just get a book. I have
Yeah.
to get a digital version. It's hard to
With-
search
with-
and everything.
With all these hobbies, I would get confused because I'm just trying to learn one thing, and
Oh, yeah.
these games go so deep, these hobbies go so deep, and so it's like you're just trying to approach it as a learner. One thing I'll point out, notice this first image here. There's a gray box that's blocked off. Now that's called fog of war. I chose to manually reveal things, so they couldn't see in that gray box. If I go to the next image, notice it's now it's an alleyway. So once they entered and followed the NPCs in the alleyway, I cleared it. Doug made the point on the other virtual tabletops. They have the ability that when their little characters get to a door, their tokens, it actually only shows what the character can see. It lights up
line of sight.
And so
it's great because when the line of sight, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, you're fine. You're good.
When
Please,
you
you've had more experience
move
with it than me.
Yeah, when you move around, your fog of war goes behind you. So as a DM, I think it was awesome
Sneak
because
up.
you can sneak somebody behind them.
Yep.
So if my character's looking forward, it gives me, like a cone of vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll turn my character and my cone of vision will change. So I kind of like that if that's an option for you.
What I like about that is, understand, it's almost like a SWAT team. You have a what's the word I'm looking for?
I always said the fatal funnel while we were playing.
That's what it was.
Out of the fatal funnel.
Which, you have a formation, right?
Yeah. A quick lesson for those: fatal funnel means anything in the doorway. You don't want to stand in the doorway because that's very bad.
Yeah,
and that's for another show. Entirely.
Yeah, it is. But he did practice that because here they are at an old chapel in a graveyard, and they got their first encounter of skeletons. Now this is supposed to be skeletons and bats. It's supposed to be easy. It wasn't the boss. Boy, my bros, they struggled.
I think we're laughing here because we're like, oh crap, it's a trap. Because you can see very lightly the bat right there has just emerged.
Yes. They were just getting pummeled by these low level, because everybody's
Bats.
level 1. Yeah. Everyone's level 1. So I was trying to soften you guys up, but man, that battle took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Well, oh my gosh, we rolled so terribly. And the one thing I don't think you've said is on D&D Beyond, if we do it on our app in our campaign, everybody gets to see the roll, which I love.
Yeah.
The dice rolled across the screen there, and we all, it was almost in unison. We're like,
sigh or celebration.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was very communal. Yeah. Now you can kind of see them on my board here. I had made these D&D quick cards. So since
I thought they were perfect. Yeah.
Everybody's new players now. Doug can hand out these awesome paper sheets that he had.
I found some online, and Crypto Cartographer, I want to give credit to them. They offer a free 5e reference sheet. If you haven't got one, go out there, download one. Now, I didn't have access to my laminator. I was going to laminate for the boys and stuff, but Crypto Cartographer, tons of resources out there. Go check them out.
Yeah, I kept that for sure because it is chock packed front and back of awesome information. I wanted to have a card that condensed out that was just specific to encounters, battles, because there's an orders, like you can do an action, a bonus action, and all that can get a little confusing. So I made a card on Canva and I had it printed on thick cardstock with a really cool, it looks like parchment paper. And I handed a card to each one of the guys. So as they're doing their turns, because again, they're new, they could read through, okay, I can do this. I can do a bonus action. This is what qualifies as a bonus action. This is what qualifies as an action. And so I didn't want to overwhelm them with too much information at once. I wanted to just be combat, because this is a one shot, and one shots are really all about combat at that point. But I think they worked out pretty well.
Oh, I thought they were great. Yep.
And I love here you got Joe explaining to Matt the strategy of what he thinks we should be doing.
That's the one thing I love about this game is you have to kind of explain your actions. So I can't remember exactly what he's saying, but he's like, look, guys, here's what's going to happen. And this is what we're going to do. Yeah.
I've played video games. And I think what this may have been was, I know Joe specifically had a spell that was a one use for the day.
Yeah.
And he kept wanting to pull it out. Like it was like divine.
Like, you need to hold on a second.
I know you kept going, and I it was like, all right, guys, and I would make a hint.
Story, but I was like, I think we better save that.
I would hint that you hear noises in the door beyond, or something like that, to indicate that it's not going to end with these stupid skeletons, you guys. So
no, that's a low level, yeah.
And you did, you guys did awesome with the skeletons, and then in the story basically was you guys were dispatched by a guild. To figure out what was going on in this weird stuff going on in this town. And so you start in a tavern. There's these two strangers and they are talking, and they will not give you any information. They're kind of arguing. And then they individually rush out into the alleyway. You find them when you get in the alley. He is basically biting her neck. He's a vampire and he's turning her. And then he grabs her and takes her to this location. That's basically the one shot, right?
Yeah.
And so they dispatch the skeletons. They get into the old ruined chapel, and now they're confronting him. And Joe, right away, was it you or Joe? No, it was you. You shot an arrow at the vampire.
Thank God I
And
missed because
yeah, it would have been bad.
do you want to go ahead and spoil the ending of the story?
Well, so the premise being is that these two were in love as kids, and they couldn't be together. She is a cleric, which usually fights vampires and in the darkness, but they can't be together. He has a boss, which is the main boss that had kidnapped him when he was a child and forced him to be a vampire because he was of noble blood, in a whole political scheme. And basically they thought, hey, if I turn you into a vampire, we'll both be, and you can get through the turning, we'll both be strong enough to take out the boss, and then I'll be free of him and we can live together. But these guys didn't know any of that. They just at this point thought, oh, well, this dude's turning this girl in and she's in pain laying on this altar, blood going everywhere. So Doug, Mr. Hero there, decided to take action in his own hands. Luckily, it was not a very good dice roll, if I remember correctly.
No, it was not.
So, and it shows them what, when you roll,
I cut him a little bit. And that was it.
You did. You cut his face. They roll for initiative, and at the top, you can see at the lower part of the image here, it shows whose turn it is, and that was kind of a neat feature of D&D Beyond. So they always knew who was supposed to take what turn.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they wake up Morven the Eternal, which is a baddie, and that's a cool shot there. And they're just surrounded by them. And eventually, of course, the cleric, once she finally turns, and once the other sub-vampire gets freed up from aiding her, they actually join the party as NPCs and fight with them to take him on. And by the way, if you guys don't know, a vampire, level 1 should not be taking on a vampire. So I had modified him to be level 1 friendly, but he was kicking their butts, even with the level 1 modification.
When he started to heal himself, I said, oh boy, this is not going to be good.
But because of one friend who loves oil and fire, I think it was Matt, he kept trying to throw oil at the guy and light him on fire, and they realized he wasn't healing. And then, of course, you and Joe are like, oh crap, well, we have spells that are fire or divine light.
I had a cantrip. We'll do some learning here. Cantrips you can do whenever, and a lot.
They're not limited.
And then spells, it's limited to a one-day thing. So I had a cantrip of a fireball raining from the sky. So Matt was throwing oil on this vampire, and when I got the chance, I would throw a fireball from the sky. It was really good.
Matt loved throwing the oil and then rolling low, and it would just barely land at the guy's feet.
He tried so many times.
Yeah, it was so much fun to just laugh through this game and try the most ridiculous things. And to see the strategy was just kind of awesome. But overall, my impressions are, I had a blast as a DM. I want to do it again. I think the biggest challenge to us will be our schedules. But the beautiful thing is with D&D Beyond, we could do this remote if we wanted to. But there was just this level of immersion of being able to be in the room together, the music, and then also the board. This board was a game changer, and being able to go anywhere we wanted. But it's not fully digital like a video game because we're throwing in the minifigs. Yeah. So I had a blast. I don't know what your impressions were as a player. Doug gave me some great feedback. I made them roll for freaking everything, which, by the way, is a total newbie DM roll. I actually did some research on it.
I think it was a lesson for us to learn how to roll and stuff. I thought it was good.
Yeah, but I made them roll for everything, and I'm learning myself. So he gave me some great feedback. So anyway, what was your impressions as a player overall, the campaign or the one shot, and just what do you think? The board, the friends, all that stuff. What do you think?
Oh, well, I mean, I will say immediately, I am no expert, but I'm in 2 5e games at the moment, campaigns. I'm in 1 2e campaign, totally different, obviously, but I thought this was great. We brought in, I would say, Joe and Matt are 2 new guys, haven't had a lot of time on D&D. I thought it was great. They learned how to roll. They learned when they need to roll. They worked on constructive thinking and team play and stuff like that. As far as the board and everything, I thought it was great. We're looking down at the action. We're seeing all the enemies. We're seeing ourselves. little tiny things that we talked about. Otherwise, I think you ran it great. I'm actually working. I've never DM'd, so I'm probably going to be that guy and make you roll for everything. But I'm hoping to DM a couple of one shots. I don't think I'm ready for a campaign at all, but I'm going to
Well,
try to get into the DM side of the things because I've been playing too much as a player.
what's cool about it is like these characters you got. I'm gonna let you guys keep them and the loot that you got at the end.
Ooh,
So
nice.
this could branch into a campaign. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
man, you
that's
get into DMing, let me know, and you can use the table if you want.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the one thing I kind of like is having a one-shot character where you level up your one-shot character or having a campaign character. So on D&D Beyond, if you have the free version, I think you get like 5 character slots.
Yep.
I actually have a couple one-shot characters that I only play in my other games when we're doing one-shot. So I have a one-shot character for you as well. And I think I'll just keep doing that. I've got our loot assembled.
Yeah.
And I think it was great.
Yeah, it's fun. I hope we get a chance to play again, and I'm gonna try to get better at, maybe get some motion video on it. I might even try some other tabletops. I do think I could do the line of sight thing with D&D and Beyond with that overlay. There's all kinds of stuff that I need to play with as a DM, but I'm really enjoying it myself. So now this has led into another kind of thing a hobby that we kind of talked about it before. We had the episode where we were showcasing the awesome work of the artist that I commissioned with the acrylic painting. And I was like, you know what, Doug, I want to try to paint things, but I've never painted anything. I wouldn't consider myself like an artistic person. I'm creative in that I love writing and storytelling, but never been a drawer. I like to doodle, but I've never been a painter. I've never painted anything. So I got really intimidated, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this, Doug. And then that's what I was like, no, I'm gonna commission the artist. And so it stayed with me, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And I decided I was going to go ahead and paint some miniatures, and I'm going to flip through some different images here. So I went and bought some. This is what they look like when you first get them. They're unprimed. The first step you got to do, I found a method that I'll share with everybody. It's called slap chop. It's for beginners. So I want to be clear. Slap chop's a bit controversial in the fact that some people love it. It's a craze. You can find tons of videos on it. Purists hate it. They think it's a hack. It's like, you shouldn't do that. It's not artistic, But if you're somebody like me, and I didn't go to I'm not an artist where like I don't understand like the lighting and it's not my thing.
Yeah.
It is wonderful for beginners. And that's why I wanted to share it with everybody, because I was like, look, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to do this controversial method because they say it's perfect for beginners. And I can tell you from the results I've had, I love it. And so I'm not going back. I don't think it's terrible. If you can help a person like me actually create a decent product, then I think it's a good method. So this is what they look like. The first step is you got to glue these together with super glue. Some of them, like you can see here, there's like this magic thing coming out of the person's base there. You got to glue that. You got to wash them with Dawn dish soap and get all of the resin and stuff. So that's step one. And then so you got to wash them, super glue them. And that's what they look like. Now, if after that, you're going to go through and you are going to prime them. Now, you can prime them almost any color that you want, but if you want the most like depth, suggestion is black. You could do white if you wanted, but those are black primed. So then after I wash them, then I take them and I prime them. And you're using like poster tacky, stuff like what you use to hang a poster on the wall to keep them on like a bottle. And I take them outside and spray them. They're pretty wet here, so then you just let them dry, and then after that, your next step, and this is where the magic starts happening. It's called a highlighting, is what it is, and there's a fancy name for it. A lot of people do this with like paint guns, which I don't own a paint gun, although I was looking at paint guns. I kind of like. I know, I'm looking at them, but it's called zenithal highlighting, and all that means is that at the raised parts of the character, you're coating it with layers of light. So, like you do a gray, what's called overbrushing. So you pour gray out, acrylic paint. And what you do is you pour gray out, put it on this special kind of brush, and you just go over a napkin over and over till it's barely even got any paint. And then you go over the model and you do gray first all over it. And you do it in a certain crisscross pattern. And then what happens is it coats it almost like a second primer in gray.
Mhm.
And then you do that exact same thing again, but you do it with white, but you do it a lot lighter, and you only want white to hit the high ridges of like the chainmail, the top of the axe. And what that ends up doing is you don't have to understand lighting and everything into where you know where to paint what, because that's the hard part if you're not an artist. Because the types of paints that we'll use, like I'll use the example right here, the cloak. See how the top of the wrinkles are white, but
Mhm.
the inside are black? That's what's going to happen with the types of paints that I use. They're gonna automatically give you that lighting. Okay, so the type of paints that I chose to use are called composite paints. They're very, very watery. They're kind of known as a wash, if you want to call it, almost like a stain, like when you're staining your deck, or well, that's kind of more what they're very watery, and they'll run in all of these crevices and everything. I'm using Army Painter speed paints. There's all different types of brands like Citadel, Vallejo. Dude, I went in deep on this hobby. Trust me. Next step is once you're done with that, which, by the way, that's a couple day process, depending on how many minis you have. Then you get into coloring them. And here's the final result. Now, I want to be clear. After I painted these, I then also had to let them dry. I then used a varnish, because if players are touching them with their fingers and moving them around on the board, that paint can come off. So you have to seal them with a varnish. So I've sealed them, and then I put felt on the bottom. This is the final product after a couple of days. Now, be kind, everybody, because again, I'm a newbie. So that's what they look like. You can see the cloak there on the back. You can see the highlighting that took place. Now, I will say the hardest thing that I didn't realize on these is trying to decide what colors that you want you to use. I think almost that's like the hardest part in all of this. And you can kind of see as I click through some of these, like I tried to be diverse with some of the coloring. Now it's very, like I said, the paint's very watery, but it settles in the crevices of where it's supposed to, and it gives you that light and shadow. And I didn't have to manually go through and do that. Now I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm getting better at it, to where I did buy a set of acrylic paints where I can manually go through and add my own highlighting. I think I am going to test the waters and try that on some of these.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I think they turned out better than I thought they would. Um, but I've got a lot of learning still left to do on them. So I am now working on a series of ones that Doug gave me and that Joe gave me.
Yeah.
So they're about halfway through that process now. And it's hard to get a good picture of them. And I know this sounds crazy. They look better in person than they do on pictures, because pictures pick up every single little detail of, uh, error that you see where the paint didn't settle right. But in person, they look better than they do on imaging. So I really struggled to get a good image of these things that I felt like did them justice. So you just have to trust me; they look better in person. I will say the green on the goblin, I didn't know, or on the orc. In D&D, orcs are kind of a grayish, so he looks more like I would say, World of Warcraft green orc is what
Yeah.
he looks like. So it's very vibrant. But I think it turned out well for the most part. So, but that's my journey, what I've been doing. Oh, the last thing I'll mention, once I collected these paints, and by the way, you have to invest some money to do the hobby. I realized I was using like a tackle box for fishing, and I was like, all right, I like the hobby. I don't hate it. I want to keep doing it. So that's when I decided, you know what, what's the best case out there? And I found like this company that's based out of Latvia, which is near Lithuania, and they're considered the frontier wargaming. They make the best wooden cases for, like, if you want to take your paints on the go. And this is my last show and tell here. I know I'm showing a lot, but I've been busy with these. Um, this image you see here, I designed that in Canva. It's two dragons on either side with the scroll and paint, and it says D&D at the top. They will laser etch anything into the wood grain for you, and I didn't want it to be plain. So I designed that on Canva, sent it to them, and they laser etched it in, and it was beautiful. This thing comes with a strap. That's what that thing is you see on the side there. I love this thing. You get to customize your trays. So I chose a box for my paintbrushes, and you have his X-Acto knife and super glue and all that kind of stuff. And then each one of these are paint trays, because I just wanted something I could grab and go that was better than my tackle box that I was using. There it is, full. You can see my glue, got my miniature trays, got all of the different uh, paints there. And so I am absolutely loving this. So shout out to them for this. They say it's one of the best cases that you can get if you're going to get into the hobby. So I did it, and I am loving it. So this is what I've been busy doing, and I'm having a blast with it. It's very meditative. I was telling my brother, I was like, it's really cool. Like for somebody like me, I have like 50 thoughts at once. This forces you to focus, and it really clears your mind. And so by the time I'm done painting, I feel very chill. So that's kind of good for somebody like me. So I don't know, it's kind of a fun new hobby I never thought I'd get into, and I'm thankful for the slap chop method. And I don't know. There we go. Hopefully, I can showcase the ones that I'm working on right now for you guys. It's a little more nervous working on the ones for friends because if I screw mine up, big deal. I can throw them in the trash. But you guys, it's a little bit more. So, dude, that's a lot. That's a lot of D&D right there, man. We've been busy playing games, been busy trying the table, busy making minis. It's been fun though. So, round us out. What am I forgetting here? Bring us home.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for listening. I believe I haven't looked at our numbers. We are so close to 5,000
We're close.
subscribers on YouTube. We've got a lot on Apple and Spotify.
Mhm.
We want to thank you all so much for listening. We have I will let you start the next one. We have an interview next
We do.
week, but I don't know if we should reveal it. I'll leave that to Keith. But we are working on interviews. We're working on content. We're working on all kinds of good stuff to keep you entertained and to keep us entertained. We like to have a good time. We like to have fun and share with you what we love to do.
That's an awesome closeout, man. And yes, we do. We'll go ahead and keep you guys will find out tune out next week in order to see who we're going to have on the podcast.
Spoilers here.
No spoilers, but it's been in the making for a bit now. It's an awesome person. We are so excited to have them on the podcast, and we're going to have a good time and a great conversation. So yeah, don't forget we have a merch store that helps us keep the podcast going, helps us with our Riverside FM subscription that we use to record to make life easier. And we don't really make money. This is the joy of it. And it is so awesome, the community that we built. But Doug and I do this because we want to share the love of all things geek and just, the positivity. And trust me, the world needs a lot of positivity right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that'll about do it. So we will catch you all next week where we're going to have a very special guest and we're excited to cue them in. And we just want to encourage everybody to have a great week. Stay hydrated if it's warm in your part of the world and stay nerdy.
See ya.
All right, take care.